Hello. Today I'm just going to give you a short demonstration of this little device here. It's called a WACOM ONE or CTL something 2, I think it is. And it's basically a digital um, writing pad, which you can use on your computer when teaching. You can use it for other things as well. I think typically, according to the website, they look at people trying to draw or design things, but it works very well as a useful tool for communicating students when you're teaching online. It's quite simple. It's still up in the red background and plugged in by USB. You do have to download a little bit of software to make sure it works properly, and then you can just write on it with your pencil. And you can see my you can't really see my mouse cursor there, but what I'm going to do is I'll show you how it works right now. So I'm using Microsoft Whiteboard, which you can download directly from the Windows Store, which is down the tab. I'm sure Macs have a similar one. You could use other drawing boards and things. I use this as it can be integrated with other apps, particularly Teams. So it's quite effective in that way. Just to start, as you see when you come in here, you have these anyway, even without the pen. And obviously you can change your different colors. If you double tap, you can change the size of the pen, you can change the color of the pen, write in rainbow if that's your thing. All right, so that's it there. I'm going to stick with that size there. You also get a highlighter, eraser, and ruler, and a lasso, and you can use typing text and stuff like that. But what we are going to do here is we're going to focus on its use of the pen with this particular whiteboard. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you can see my hand moving here. You can see the cursor moving, and then depending on pressure, you can just simply write. You see that? I think it takes a bit of time to get used to it, the handwriting, and you need to track where you're going with your mouse, but it's quite accurate, quite detailed, and obviously it works amicably as a whiteboard. As to act as a whiteboard replacement. I think one thing that we engage with or we encounter as teachers a lot is that when we're teaching on Zoom, we're relying on our students to take notes and to write notes. And as a teacher, I've certainly felt my ability to impact and to reach students has been limited by the lack of access to actually write on a whiteboard, to write information down. But with this tool, it actually works quite well. I'm mostly just showing it as an alternative to an actual to a whiteboard. Obviously, for different subjects, you may need different skills. You may need to learn how to use it in different ways. But as a language teacher, an English language teacher, it's very useful for me if I need to write particular instructions for assessment. Maybe grammar examples. My handwriting is usually or vocabulary. Particularly something that I really think is important is feedback. To be able to actually offer feedback directly to a student is something I think many of us miss. And this whiteboard, with the use of the pen, particularly with the use of the pen, and the digital writing pad, make it so much easier for me to actually do. And of course, it takes a little bit of practice, but I've had this a week, and it's not made a huge difference. You know, you can get your whiteboard or your eraser there if you want, and likewise, Control and Z should bring all that back. All right, so you're saying functions is that will work. You can one thing I find myself doing, if you use the trackball of your on your mouse, you can divide this up and do particular sections and things like that. Okay, so there's a lot of different you'll notice on it that there are there's two little buttons on the side here on the pen. One of them functions. Oh, I didn't know it functions as a cursor, like if you want to drag and drop, and the other one is like a right click, which doesn't work in this, but I can show it to you later on. Oh yeah, so things like that, and if you want the type here section, you can actually write in here and say the same thing. If you want, and it's quite accurate. I think it's quite accurate. So you see there. So as you can see, that's with a whiteboard. That's one function. Obviously, I can only look at it from the perspective of what I would use it from, but you can see how it might work with sharing notes, for sharing equations, sharing specific details related to the class. It can be quite comfortable. The added functionality of the actual Google or the Microsoft Whiteboard means that you can tap here. You obviously use your pen. You can put in a table and things like that, but or post to Teams and on all this sort of stuff. You can add in maybe a different background if you want. If that's what you need. Perhaps graphs might work too, and you can zoom in and zoom out, etc. If you want to change the color to make it easier for people to read, that might be beneficial too. The other thing is, oh yes, more importantly, I think is one of the other things, and this is again another feature. But what you can do is you can export it as an image and send it on to your students afterwards, should you require that. So it has a lot of functionality, but in terms of using the pen, I think that's the best thing, because now rather than, and if you imagine this is me using the mouse. Oops. No, what I'm using. What I'll do is I'll unplug this and then try and use my mouse. So there we go. It won't even let me use my mouse to do that for some strange reason. That's allowed me before. Perhaps I need to turn off my pen. And then click there. And this is with my mouse. You can see that it's very slow, and frankly, it looks really ugly. It's not very clear. It's not very fluid. Of course, you can type in, but one of the advantages that I think is useful is you can do that. Plug that back in, and then we can jump down here quickly and rescue this. Okay, all right. All right, so that's one function. Let me just give you an example with a couple of others. Again, here we are. This is a PDF, and as you can see, there's a lot of different things on the PDF. You'll notice here that I'm using the not using the right button very well. So that's the button. You can actually use it to scroll if you wish. Different other functions that we can use it with a PDF. Obviously, we can highlight things depending on the document. I won't let me do it. So it's kind of embarrassing. And obviously, then maybe perhaps we can do a different things like that. That's not really working out for me, is it? You can use it to a certain extent using the pen on your PDF. It depends on obviously what you're trying to do. I'm going to get out of there because I appear to be not necessarily doing a very good job. Another thing that I use it for is, and I'll show it to you now. Is working with actual presentations. Okay, so as you're probably aware, by tapping it on our on the screen, we are tapping on the digital pad. It moves forward. Okay, and we can work through the different presentation. And as we tap it each time, it's almost like a mouse click. But where it comes into it good is that sometimes, when we're actually giving our actual presentations and using these tools, we would like to be able to interact with it more effectively. And this is where the annotate function comes in. So for some reason, I can't annotate it. 1 second, please. So that's completely blown up in my face. These things happen, I suppose. Perhaps I should have taken a little bit more care and checked it before it worked, but anyway, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. So this might be a presentation which I gave at once upon a time. And I'm just going to show you some of how we can actually use the pen while doing the presentation. So as you might know, you might be delivering a presentation in a classroom, and you may wish to interact with the slides a little bit, or take some notes. And I'm going to use, I can't use the annotate function on which Zoom allows me to do, but I'm going to use the one which is built into actually Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm going to select the pen. I'm going to select a nicer purple, nicer color than red, because like just more serious or less serious. Okay, and what we can do here is perhaps we are delivering a presentation and come across particular situations, and we engage with the class, and students may ask questions, so you can response to question, or perhaps a student gives own example, and you can write that. You can write this here. One of the example advantages of using PowerPoint is that you don't need to remove the annotations every time you move to the next slide, and they can be saved in. So this might be an example, and obviously we might ask students what they we may ask students, which are the correct ones. Okay. And then these are obviously the correct answers, and then we can jump forward. Oh, yeah, look, we were right about this. Okay. And perhaps we may add extra information because, no class is a carbon copy of the next. So we have that in the information there. Again, you can use it as a mouse, and in some respects, it's easier than a mouse because with the mouse, I even use an ergonomic mouse, but still, even then, it feels a bit comfortable. It can be a little more, feel a bit more fluid. It's just a different way of dealing with it, maybe. And again, we can write things, write suggestions, maybe include students' contribution. And we can, I'm writing quite quickly there, but we could write slower and more neatly if you like. Okay, so we are encountering a wide range of situations that we might use this, and another setting where we may find this useful is we may find that we have an image which we may wish to discuss with people. In this case here, it's just saved as a regular photograph. It is a diagram, for example. Oops, that's backfiring on me. And what you'll notice here is there's an option. Let's do it straight away because I have the pen in my hand. But which is probably good. And we can use the pen obviously if we want. Maybe we'll make it a little bit smaller, and there we go. We can write in things if we wish to do that. Obviously, it's a bit small, so we need to make it a bit bigger. And perhaps we want to highlight important parts. We want to draw attention to different things, and the advantage of this is that we're actually leaving the information there, because I have found teaching that sometimes frequently using Zoom and stuff like that we're actually just showing information, but we're not making sure that students have a record of it. And I feel that the way they're using this pen and this digital pad to actually write while I'm teaching, I'm giving students more opportunity to take in information, to record information, and also by collecting notes for them, it's good too. I'm also kind of aware that I think it would be a great benefit to students who may have learning disabilities, because the information will be there on the page, and they will be able to read it at their own pace rather than trying to interpret what I'm saying, which maybe I might be speaking too quickly, or might be difficult to follow. So this kind of tool allows me, I feel, to have a greater impact in my classes, and also to communicate things which I think are important. I should also add that I have received a little bit of feedback from students, and largely the feedback has been positive. Definitely the students are keen to get the notes, the whiteboard notes, which I've shared. It's been useful as well as I've tried to share feedback information and talk about a range of different situations which related to student assessment. We can, with just a few examples here. So this is just a quick example of some of the material which I've worked with in a class of late. And as you can see, it's quite detailed. It's quite detailed, as you can see, and I've been able to move around it a little bit. You know, you can see that it's quite detailed. That the handwriting isn't great, but I'm able to like use diagrams and describe things a little bit differently, whereas before I might have to describe various processes and to link different things. So this is useful, and you can also integrate different images, copy and paste different images in there should you want to. So you might be, oops. So you may, yeah, so there's that image that we just had in the previous one, and maybe we want to put that in there, and you know, we want to make it, oh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, so there you go. So that's it. This is it. It's a digital writing pad. I'm using this one by WACOM, and it's a WACOM ONE. Price varies depending where you are, what country you buy it from, obviously. There are different ones, different prices, but I really recommend looking into one if you're trying to find a new way to impact on your teaching and have more confidence in what you're doing and to achieve better results.